Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to make your own Minnie ears. I've made several pairs for my trips to Disney. I like being able to customize them to whatever theme that I want, maybe more than what you can find at the parks. Not to mention the ones at the parks are kind of expensive. So I like being able to make a bunch of them, have one for at least every day, if not more. I have seen other tutorials on how to make your own Minnie ears. I just do mine a little bit differently. So I am making some for my upcoming trip in October for my birthday. Super excited. So I thought I would video it and see if it helps any of you guys out there that might be curious how to make them a little differently. Mine are not flat, they are fluffy. And they're big. These are my most recent ones. This actually goes with my Halloween costume for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. I'm dressing as Minnie. Gotta dress as the original. So these are the ones that I just did. I have done others. I've got some Cinderella ones. It's kind of hard to see, but Cinderella's on there. And they have a really big bow. But I like big bows, so who cares? These are some other Mickey Minnie ones that I've done before as well. With a glittery bow, I will say this fabric is a pain in the butt to work with, so I try not to use it anymore. I've got some Olaf ones. Gotta have a good Olaf pair. I have a pair of Donald ones, but to be honest, I'm not sure where they're at. So we've got Ariel. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, kind of a mermaid tail fabric. And last, you gotta have a Haunted Mansion pair, especially when you're around Halloween. But I am making a pair for Halloween this year, and I'm also making a Finding Dory pair. So that's what I'm working on today. So let's get started. All right, we're gonna get started with what you need in order to make your ears. Obviously you need some fabric, whatever fabrics you choose. This is my Finding Dory one. And then you want some type of coordinating fabric to make the bow out of. You can pick anything that you want. This satiny kind of fabric I have found at Joann's. It comes in a million colors. It's very easy to work with, and it's pretty inexpensive. So I have found I really like this stuff. And I'm actually using orange for my Halloween ears and for my Finding Dory. So I've got two pieces for that. You need headbands of some sort. I am a sensitive head, so I'm really weird about headbands. These do not hurt me, and they're super duper 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 cheap. These I got at the Dollar Tree, but they're very similar to what I bought. And actually I'm using basically the same type of thing. It's basically kind of wrapped in these cheap little fabric. These were 3 for $1, like I said, at the Dollar Tree. Or you can also get very similar, I don't think it has the bow on it, but basically the exact same thing at Walmart. 3 of them, or I want to say, were either 88 cents or 98 cents. It was one or the other. So basically right around $1. And all I do is you snip off this end of it right here. Just pull it back a little bit. It's pretty stretchy fabric. Cut it, and then it'll pull right off. You can pull the whole thing off of there, and you're going to end up with a headband that looks like that. Completely plain. It doesn't have the little grips or anything on it, but they're not a super tight headband, so it doesn't bother my head. It's pretty stretchy. And I find them to really work just about the best. You can use the bigger, fatter fabric covered ones that you can find at the store. They're a bit more expensive. But again, it's totally up to you what you want to do. All right, you're also going to need a template for your circles of fabric, as well as one for your cardboard and foam circles. Now, or semicircles, I should say, I'm sorry. You're going to make little foam semicircles and cardboard ones as well. Both kind of just help give the ears a better shape. You don't have to use both if you don't want to. The foam, this is kind of a thick foam that I found in a sheet at Joann's. I don't remember how much it was, but it was pretty inexpensive. So, and I got several of them out of it. And this is honestly just an old box I cut up with a pair of scissors, into my shape. I made my little templates on cardstock because I find it to be a little easier to work with, especially considering how many I've made. The fabric circle is 5 inches in diameter. Okay. Yes, just verifying. It is 5 inches in diameter. It doesn't matter really how you get your 5-inch diameter circle. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I think I found a lid to a jar or something that had a 5-inch diameter lid, and just trace the lid. So that's an option for that. As far as the cardboard one, all I did, this is a 4-inch diameter circle. So I made a whole circle, and then to cut it out, I just laid my headband right here. Forgive me, I'm looking and moving at the same time. And I just placed it about where I thought the ear would go. Where you put them is kind of up to you anyway. And then I just traced it out and cut out to make a semicircle, kind of an ear shape. So that's how I do those. You're also going to need some type of ribbon, something to go along the inside of your headband, just to kind of cap it off and make it look nice. This is just a very simple white. It goes with everything. Does it say how wide it is? No. There it is. 1/4 inch diameter, 1/4 inch wide, whatever. Very simple little satin ribbon. And I've been using that for a while, so it goes a long way. You're also going to need a hot glue gun of some sort, along with the glue, and filler. I use cotton balls. I just find that they actually come out the best, and they're probably the easiest to work with. I've tried to do it with polyfill, and I struggle with it, and that might just be a personal thing. Again, just use whatever you have or what you're comfortable with, and that should work. Only other thing you really need would be a sewing machine. You can do it by hand if you choose to. Pair of scissors and a marker, something to write with, and maybe some pins as well. All right, first thing you want to do is cut out your fabric. You want to make sure you lay your circle where your design is. Some may be a little different. Some might be just a very generic, you know, repetitive pattern kind of thing, and it really doesn't matter, and you can just lay this on here and cut out where you want. This one in particular is going to be a pain in the butt, which is why I haven't gotten to it yet, because I want the front faces to be on the front of my ears and them swimming sideways to be on the back. So it's going to take a little bit of working around the fabric. As far as how much you buy, for the bow, I always buy 1/4 yard. It's plenty. I have plenty left over to work with. Really in the fabric, you need about 1/4 yard, the same. It's going to work just fine. But keep in mind where how much your pattern runs. So like for this one, I've actually previously bought some of this, and I bought like 1/3 yard, and still wasn't enough because I didn't get enough of their faces to make it work. So you may have to buy a little more or a little less depending on where your fabric is at when they go to cut it. So I have already done my Halloween ones. I went ahead and just cut it out. So as you can see, I wanted to make sure Mickey got on one, Minnie got on another, and on the back I have Goofy and Donald. So I kind of laid my circle out and cut them, and then I just laid right sides together how I wanted it so that they'll both kind of be facing the right way. Excuse me. Then I just typically lay this on there, and I just want to pin where I'm going to start my sewing and where I'm going to end. So this particular one, did I do that right? Yeah, pretty much end to end. I'm close. Kind of laid out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just an approximate, because, you know, obviously if you want Mickey to face this way, you don't want to do it like this. So then you'll have a very crooked Mickey, and that's not good. So I just try to pin where I want it to stop and start so that it will look right when I'm finished. And as far as sewing, I just do 1/4 inch in on my sewing machine, very simple, go around. It doesn't have to be perfect because, like I said, we're going to glue all this together actually. So the finished ear will be glued onto the headband. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So let me go sew this together real quick and we'll be right back. Alright, we are back. We have our circles sewn together. Forgive me, I'm trying to do this with both hands. Alright, so as you can see, I did my stitches here to here and just snipped off the extra. Nothing spectacular. Super easy. And at this point, all you really want to do is turn it inside out. If your seams come apart just a little bit at the ends, don't worry, it's not a big deal. We are going to glue it, so it's not a big deal. And they will probably come unraveled at least a little bit, and that's, like I said, just fine. Alright. Alright, so we've got our Mickey. We've got Donald on this one. So at this point, I've got fur all over this. Downside to having cats. Don't have cats. Just kidding. Alright, I'm going to take a foam semicircle and a cardboard. I'm going to put my foam on top. And I usually like my foam to be forward. Does it really matter? No. It's just the way I'd usually do it. I'm a weird, consistent person. Alright, I find this best if you can go in kind of at an angle. It will be tight. Your seam will come undone. It's okay. At this point, I just want to work it around. Come on. There we go. So basically, it's in there, and I pretty much have my tips of my little points here, kind of where my seams are. So you can work it around, stretch on your fabric, it's okay. And then we just want to fill it. Now, in order to fill it, I take my cotton balls and I kind of pull them apart. This one didn't come unraveled as well. These ones are, maybe everybody else's cotton balls are different. Mine come like unrolled, literally. It's kind of weird. But I usually unroll it and then kind of fold it in half again. Oops. Hitting the camera. And then I'm just going to take it and put it inside. And I usually like to try to do, no, it doesn't want to cooperate today, my edges first. So I've kind of got the edge going. And then you're going to do the same thing. Have this one ready. Alright. So we've kind of got an outline to some extent. And you're just going to keep pulling them apart and stuffing them in there until you get it how you want it. I went ahead and did this one a little bit ago. You do tend to get fuzzies on it. It's okay. Alright, you just want to make sure it's nice and full on the front. Try to make it so it doesn't look super lumpy. That's why I pull the cotton balls apart in the first place. On the back, I usually don't fill it quite as much. You're not going to see the back quite as much, so I don't think it's as necessary. So I just like to pull my fabric about where my end is to make sure that it looks the way that I want before I do it. Now, as far as gluing it goes, I'm going to stuff this in just a smidge. Alright. You're going to take your glue gun and just run it along the inside where your foam and your cardboard are. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to fold the back side in. If you have like gloves, this might be better because it's hot. And like I said, be careful because it is hot. Alright, and you just want to make sure you get a nice pulled finished look there, as you can see. At this point, if I have strings or anything like that, I try to pull my seam a little bit tighter, if I can, and I like to tuck them in just a smidge. You're going to fold this side over and in. And you may have to work with it a little bit and push and pull and all that kind of stuff. But you're going to just hot glue this shut. I usually start at one end. Forgive me, I keep coughing today. I'm low on glue too. and I do a little bit at a time. It does get hot and it gets hard to work with, so I usually like to do just a little bit at a time, give myself a break, make sure I got that one on good, because you do want this to be pretty flush because you need it to attach to your headband well. You know, I've got one end that just wants to look funky. If it wants to come undone and look funky, just add some glue to it. It will be fine. You won't even see it. I've done it many times. Bear with me here. Got one thread that just wants to be weird. Be weird. Alright. We're just going to keep going down. I'm just going to glue this sucker shut. Alright, I am going to finish the rest of these and I will be back. Alright, we're back again. We've got both of our ears done. Oh, wrong way. So we've got Mickey and Minnie. And then we've got Donald and Goofy on the backs. Not 100% perfect, like I said, but that's okay. We got them as flat as we could so that we can glue them on. Your next step's going to be to get your fabric that you want to cover your headband in. You can use the fabric that you're going to make your bow out of. You can cover it in a ribbon if you want. You can use pretty much whatever you want. I like to use the fabric that I'm making the ears out of. So I tend, for these little skinny headbands, I usually cut about 1 inch. In some places it'll be double overlapping, and some places it's just barely going to cover anywhere, but that's why we put the ribbon on afterward, so it's not really going to make a big difference. Alright, and usually how I start it, alright, let's see if I can show this without blocking myself. Alright, I'm going to just pull it, make sure also that you have enough fabric to go from end to end, and usually a little extra, that's good. But I will fold it over. I will put just a little bit of glue in here on the headband. I'm struggling with this glue gun today. It hates me. Alright, move out of the way. Alright, and then we're just going to push down to make the end. Alright, and then from there you're just going to do one side and fold it over like so, and just glue around until you get to the end, and then fold it the same way. And then you're going to come around and do the other side. Do the same exact thing. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be right back. Alright, we've got our headband. It's all done. Looks pretty cute. Little bits and pieces of the fabric. At this point, we just want to take our ribbon. I do have a candle here, just so I can burn the end of it, keep it from fraying. So I will do that. I will place it on here. There, you can kind of see that. And I'll just go and glue it along the edge of the inside just to finish it off, since I've got so much glue and rough edges, and I think in some places it just barely covered, so that kind of thing, it'll just cover the whole thing. So let's see. I do recommend doing this very carefully and not too much. Like I said, you just want to keep it from fraying. I do have a couple pairs that I've had for a while that they did fray, so don't recommend doing that, or skipping that step, I should say. Alright. You don't need to use a ton of glue, just enough to kind of hold it on in places. And when I get to the other end, I'll kind of determine where my end is going to be so that I can melt that end as well. Alright, so there we have our headband with our ribbon on it. And we're ready to attach the ears. Now with this, I recommend just playing with it. Keep in mind you're going to have a bow in the middle. You may want to try them on and kind of see if if you like them a little higher or do you like them a little lower. I like mine a little lower just because I have a big head, so when it stretches out they get closer together. Not to mention I have big bows usually, so I like to have some room for my bow. So I'm going to go ahead and now to glue these on, I recommend putting your glue along your ear, not on your headband, because you might want to kind of figure out where you're going to put it on your headband first, but then glue this, and then you're just going to lay it flat on that part that we got as flat as we could. You're just going to squeeze it as hard as you can to hold it there and get it, and wait until the glue, blow on it. Get it as secure as you possibly can before you move on to the next one. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Alright, so we have our ears. We have them all glued together now. We've got our Mickey and Minnie and our Donald and our Goofy. I like to put mine down a little bit further because I like to have enough room to put my bow without it being too obstructed by the ears. So you kind of have to keep that in mind with these things because it will bunch your bow up. Sometimes it makes it look a little strange when you wear them. So I try to leave just enough room. I've got plenty of room for my bow to sit. Now as far as size on bows, I've struggled with this one immensely. My last one was 6 inches wide by 5 inches tall. I like the height, but the width was just a little bit more narrow than I normally like. So this time I cut a piece that was 5 by 7. And this is all you're going to do. This is the one time I actually use my cutting mat and my rotary cutter just because I do find it a little bit easier to work with on this. But literally, I cut it 5 inches. I'm sorry, this way. This is going to be the height of my bow. So it's 5 inches long. And then the width of it is 7 inches. And I have gone ahead and sewn it. And all I simply did, I did a forward stitch and I back stitched just a little to make it more secure to about where the middle is. You don't have to be 100% perfect on this. And I back stitched here just to make it a little more secure as well. And then I just left a little pocket. That way I can stuff it. I'm not actually going to close it. The only reason I don't close it is I don't think it's necessary. You're going to have, the middle of your bow, you're going to cinch. So it's going to be covered. So I don't worry with that. Alright, the next step in this is to lay it flat. This is a little hard to show you. Alright, we're going to lay it flat with this seam in the middle. As middle as you can get. Doesn't have to be perfect, again, but you want it as close as you can. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to close our seam on each side of this to make basically a square pocket. So let me do that real quick and I'll come back. Alright, as you can see, I have closed it shut on both sides. Did do double stitch kind of right here because this is going to be my corner. So, a back stitch I should say. So I just go forward on the machine, hit back just a little bit, and go back through it just to make it a little more secure. At this point, we're just going to turn it right sides out. Depending on how big you made your little pocket, this could be easy or it could be difficult. That's why I like to make mine a little on the bigger side to make it a little bit easier on myself. And you want to point your corners. Make sure they're nice and pointy. I usually at this point will pull out a pen or a skewer, a dull knife, something to get my corners a little more pointy. Alright, we got 2. Alright, so there we have it. There we basically have our bow. As you can see, this kind of folds in on itself, so like I said, you're not even really going to see it, and you're going to put fabric over it anyway. So, it's going to be kind of open, but you're never going to know it. Nobody else will know it. How about that? Alright, so there's my finished part of that bow. Now the next thing would be to stuff it. You do not have to stuff it. If you like kind of more of that traditional bow, it's perfectly fine. You could at this point just put your fabric on it and attach it to your headband. I like mine a little fluffier, so I add my cotton balls to it, pull it apart just the same way. I don't like to go crazy with it, but I would say no more than like 3 cotton balls on each side, and I do kind of pull them apart and separate them to each side, and then I test it, you know, kind of hold it together and make sure you have it how you want it to look on your headband. So let me do that real quick. Okay, so at this point I have stuffed my bow. I actually did 2 cotton balls per side because I like it a little less fluffy on this one. The only thing we're going to work on now is that center piece. I used to sew this and I just determined it's not worth it. You're not going to see it, so there's really no point in making a big deal about it. So honestly, I just took an extra. This is just a scrap piece that was left over when I was cutting. I'm just gluing it shut, literally, with hot glue. This is going to be a little hard to show you, so forgive me. Let's see if we can not really, but that's okay. We're a little crooked. This is hard to show you guys, so. And I'm out of glue. Alright, so we've already done one side. We're just going to go through, do the other side, and I just literally fold it over. And I'm going to get glue all over my fingers. And you don't even need a really long strip, to be honest. Really just enough to cover that center piece on your bow. So this is probably plenty, to be honest, but I'm going to go a little bit further just in case. It's a scrap piece anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, I hope you could see that okay. Alright, and we're just going to trim off some of this extra. So we've got a nice long strip. You can kind of see it's a little wobbly, but that's okay. You don't really need it to show too much anyway. Alright. Now. Whoops. I was dropping stuff in the process. Let's see if this will work. Alright. Sometimes your stuffing will get a little in the middle. That's okay. Just move it around. But you're really just going to roll it around and kind of find a good spot for it to be. You could leave it as loose or it's as tight as you want it. Well, mine just wants to be difficult today. I usually like for the seam to kind of be on the bottom because we are going to cut off the extra, so just keep that in mind. And if some of it gets on the bow itself, that's okay. No biggie. Ooh, it's hot. Alright, and there you have your bow. At this point I like to kind of roll this flat part where I have the extra kind of to the bottom so it will be seen less as much as possible, I guess. And then I want to kind of figure out where am I going to put my bow on my ears. Once you find a good place for it, just add your glue. I got glue gun strings everywhere. The glue gun is not going to stand up. And just press it and hold it. Alright, and there we have our mini ears. Alright, so there we have the final ears done and on with my nice fluffy bow. Somewhat fluffy bow today. So I've got my Halloween ears for my my trip to Disney, along with my shirt that I made. I'm proud of that one too. What can I say? But hopefully this helped you, or at least inspired you to try to make your own ears for you, or for someone you know. You could easily make them for kids. Obviously these are adult size. I know that they make kid size headbands. You could just do that. I would say maybe scale back on the ear shape sizes by maybe a ½ an inch. They're not huge to begin with, so I think that that would be plenty. But I hope this helped you guys. Thanks for watching.